And I do feel vindicated as well. VP made it through. I swear to God, there was like one person in particular that like gave me shit for putting VP in the top category when I did it. But yeah, you can suck on that because I was right.
So it's episode 11 of the Siege Show, presented by Jake and Guzz. That's us. And hello and welcome for what is going to be our esports review for stage 2 for Siege, and it's all come to a close, especially by the time this episode does go live. For the sake of lowering the curtain back a little bit, we are filming this slightly early just for the sake of availability, due to our studio availability. So we've recorded this slightly early. I don't know, how many regions are we still technically waiting on as of recording this?
So we're just waiting on the Brazil LCQ to play out, and there's still one spot in Japan as well. So we've got, I'm pretty sure, 22 teams confirmed at the time of recording. So
it's pretty good.
For us, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough. Let's get rocking and rolling. So in terms of what we usually do, obviously, is the weekly power rankings that we were doing throughout the stage, which was fun and obviously ever evolving and changing. Now we kind of scrap that because we know who's going to the major. It's a little bit difficult to obviously review the LCQs and such. Who cares? It's about who won, and that's all that matters. And so we kind of now go back to our stage 2 predictions. We go all the way back to pre-week 1 when we anticipated who would be going to the Atlanta major from every single region. There's been some hits, there's been some misses, and we'll go through them all. We'll start with NAL. We'll start with North America because, interestingly enough, it's actually our most popular region for the show. So thank you to all of our North American viewers. We'll start with NAL first and how things have gone, which obviously we'll get both of our predictions from the pre-stage up on the screen and go through it all. But basically, Sonics, M80, Dark Zero, they all got through from the regular stage through that phase 2 knockout bracket. Of which we've done okay. You've done better than me, I think, in this instance. You got Sonics and M80 in your absolutely making it tier. Dark Zero, you had just behind SSG, but still up there.
Yeah, and SSG obviously made it through the LCQ. So my top 4 teams in my rankings were the 4 teams that made it. So I am that guy. Obviously, probably didn't give enough credence to Dark Zero, placing them in the mic category, and unfortunately, OXG kind of bumped out, so I probably gave them a little bit too much. Obviously, Wildcard were a bit of a standout, and we didn't give them as much credit as they deserved, even though, unfortunately, things didn't go their way in the end. But I think largely shaping up how I expected. You gave SSG a lot of love.
I did, and they didn't quite qualify in the way that I thought they would, but they still qualified, so that's fine. And we both did technically get our top 4 correct. Basically, if I had just swapped SSG and M80, I would have been a bit of a genius. We both went with obviously Sonics at the top and got that, and I did have Dark Zero in my probably making it. Obviously, they were able to do with Wildcard. So in the end, we've actually done quite well. I think to sort of finalize NAL, obviously none of us expected the rise of Wildcard at all. So that was the big one I think we both missed coming into this stage from the North American League. Outside of that, we both weren't that massive on Oxygen, who, while I still had them in my might make it, and so they've disappointed me a little bit, it's not as if I had them like a guarantee or high end to make it. So I think we can honestly give ourselves a double thumbs up in terms of NAL predictions. We've done well.
Yeah, happy with that. We'll jump over to EU then for the second league that we'll cover. And as I scroll down, so VP, BDS, and Wolves made it through in the playoff bracket, and then G2 made probably the expected run through the LCQ to bounce back. So once again, I was pretty close. I didn't quite get the top 4 this time. Unfortunately, the Wolves I put in might, and that was just because I had fears after stage 1 that they might not be able to repeat a similar effort. However, they actually overall performed better, so props to them. G2, I had as a shoe-in. They had to make the LCQ run, so that was a little bit scary, but they were able to do it. And I do feel vindicated as well. VP made it through. I swear to God, there was like one person in particular that gave me shit for putting VP in the top category when I did it. But yeah, you can suck on that because I was right.
So I had G2 obviously in my absolutely making it as well, and they just barely made it. So I feel like I got that wrong, despite the fact that they obviously did end up making it. Virtus Pro I had high up there, and I had M&M in the same category as you, in the probably making the major. So for them to miss out, that's a big miss from both of us. Big miss for M&M to not go back to the major after making Copenhagen. I did have BDS and then Wolves at the top end of my might make the major, so they were in the conversation. So out of the top 5, I got 4 of them right. So 4 out of the top 5, M&M being the one that, clearly we both got that one wrong. And you, in theory, had Wild behind Wolves. So yours was probably just a little... Actually, no. I'm going to be fair. 1 thumbs up a piece here, because you did get Virtus Pro in your absolutely making it. They won the upper bracket final against BDS, and you had BDS in the probably... make it as well.
I had the balls to put my name on the line and put 2 teams in the top category. You didn't. So I get bonus points for that.
Yeah.
Koi, unfortunately, we both put them in the bottom. Sad to see Jigsaw go over there, and they struggled, but that was kind of expected. So we'll see if they can bounce back next stage.
So in the end, for EUL, to sort of summarize that, I think we've done okay. I mean, to be fair, EUL definitely did throw some shake-ups and some curveballs, probably more than we expected. G2 being the big one. BDS obviously made their return and finally sort of got going again, which was good. We weren't too sure if they were going to be able to bounce back from a poor stage 1. So in the end, they did. Over to Brazil, which of course we've got 3 teams qualified at the moment. Still waiting on 1 more, which I might have to get you to bring up the LCQ for that. But FaZe Clan, W7M, and who was the third one? Was it NIP? Yeah, they've qualified. So we'll get the Brazil LCQ up and sort of where that is.
So the big 3 have already qualified, and then the LCQ, which will already be complete when this episode comes live, still yet to be played out. Wow. So the first match will be 3 days from this being recorded. So again, it will already be released, but the expectation would be that Liquid make that run. But I don't know if I'll be able to do it.
So on my list, I've got W7M at the top along with Liquid, and then FaZe actually just 1 below. So some irony there. We've both gone with Liquid in the absolutely making it, and similar to G2, not only did they not make it, they got to go through LCQ. So we'll see if they can make that same G2 run from Brazil for Team Liquid. Other than that, I did have Lost One and NIP in my might make it, and obviously NIP came through with a really good stage. They were able to qualify directly, and Lost One, well, they'll play Team Liquid. What a match that promises to be in the quarterfinals, of which has already happened as you guys watch this. And W7M FaZe, too strong, too good. I think overall we've done okay here. I don't think we were anticipating Liquid to struggle as much as they have had to struggle here in stage 2. That's been the biggest difference here. W7M, FaZe, NIP's rise, all of that pretty confidently predicted, but Liquid, we definitely missed the mark there. Over to Japan, which again is the other region. We're still waiting to see who will qualify from the LCQ, of which we will be casting that. But we have Scars and Cyclops that have both qualified directly. Now, we both had Scars in our absolutely, and we both had them as the only team absolutely making the major. From there, you've gone a little bit strange, I think, in your prediction, because if there's a logo there in front of Northeption, which I think there might be, it should be Varel, if I'm correct.
It's Varel. I picked the worst colored background.
You've completely stuffed it up by picking Varel there, so that's a big L. Northeption obviously has turned into a bit of an L, so we're both wrong there. And then we both had Cyclops might make the major, and I think Cyclops, their return to form probably was not necessarily too predicted, but I think more so because we expected Northeption to kick on.
Yeah, Northeption had a lot of momentum, I think, for them heading into the... So did Varel, and I think that guided my predictions quite a bit. So it was unfortunate to see them sort of taper off a little bit. Good for Cyclops and the name to come back into contention and to qualify. They obviously got stomped, though, in that grand final, so a 3-0, and it wasn't a game for nothing. That seeded you into phase 2, which means that you avoid kind of the trenches and the opportunity to be sent home in one day or whatever. So for Cyclops, it's still very scary for them, but I'm happy we both picked Scars. They're clearly now, I think, the best team in Japan, and probably by a significant margin. So good for them, and hopefully they can make a run at Atlanta and get back on the stage.
Very confident and comfortable grand final from Scars 3-0 over Cyclops, and I think that, if Northeption do get through from the LCQ, which I'm kind of hoping that they do. So it's already somewhat started out as of recording this. Crest and Exist into the semi-final. So Barrel's gone. You've got that one completely wrong. I mean, if you actually look back at it, you had them as second
Yeah.
in theory, and they're already bombed out of the LCQ. So Crest have done quite well. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them make a mark. You also got them quite wrong because you had them in the absolutely.
Hey, they still might not make it. Who knows?
Well, I had them probably not making it, but either way, the big thing is surely Northampton can take care of Fnatic, who once again look completely irrelevant, and then moving forward, they'll have a bit of a run. So I still think, hopefully, Northampton do make it through as of recording this, and if that does happen, I will have got the top 3 right for Japan. So I'll feel a little bit vindicated for that.
Yeah, so another region we were pretty successful in guessing, I think, was South Korea. I had D+ on top of Sandbox, and that's how it took place, a 2-1 grand final, and Sandbox continuing to trail. I thought there might have been a world in which they would actually edge out, and it was a pretty competitive grand final, but yeah, not meant to be, so we get that prediction right. Talon, though, made the run through the LCQ, and we had them in equal positions in the might make the major category. So a little bit of a surprise, but to be fair, it was kind of always up in the air a little bit with South Korea, because you've always had the big two, and then everyone else is kind of battling it out. Yeah,
what's interesting for me is obviously I had Sandbox just above D+, and I think throughout the group stage, I was probably feeling quite confident in that selection after D+ lost a couple of games. They looked a little shaky to start with, but yeah, obviously D+ finished really strongly, won that grand final, which had meaning because it means they get to go straight to phase 2 at the major rather than having to play phase 1. It was close, 2-1. That's at least not too bad. Clearly, La Vega, big drop-off. Both of us had them in the probably making it. So we kind of predicted the top 3 would be D+, Sandbox, and then most likely La Vega. And they just obviously shit the bed. So unfortunately, we got that one wrong. And then again, it was this one, BSG and then Talon were in the might make it. This was, of course, back when we did our original tier listings, which had some poor background choices, unfortunately. I do apologize for that. Again, as we bring it up one more time, we did learn our lesson when we actually did.
Yeah, we did fix it.
The power rankings, but yeah.
Depending on how I'm feeling, I'll probably go back and I'll remake them, and I'll make sure they're actually visible.
If you do that, if he ends up doing
if I do that, please subscribe to the Patreon.
Please subscribe to the channel. If the
at the Patreon.
But yeah, so clearly for South Korea, I think we've done pretty much identical, things considered. And Talon,
it was predictable.
Talon's rise this stage probably was not that predicted.
Not that
but they were still in the conversation. It was just a matter of could they get over the line. And I think it also is the case of La Vega ended up shooting the bed. So then Talon, in Talon's improvement then is like double folded. Over towards the Asia LCQ, Asia region, which includes both South Asia and Southeast Asia. And no surprises there.
Well, yeah, surprising in the way in which it concluded. There were some interesting circumstances, some extraneous circumstances around the Asia LCQ. We went into that in detail in the last episode, so go check that out, and in the Patreon as well, because it was incredibly controversial. But in terms of the two teams that we thought would make it and the two teams that did, Fury, Bleed, pretty much expected. Unfortunate for Elevate, who I feel weren't particularly strong throughout the league portion, but actually ended up making it to the LBF and won a map and actually pushed Bleed quite a bit from all accounts in that match. So I think a deserved third place. As for Direwolves and No Cap, I put them in a might make the major. It never felt like they were going to make the major throughout the stage for my liking.
You were a little higher on No Cap than I was.
Yeah, and I probably gave them both a little bit too much credit. But the rest played out as expected, and unfortunately South Asia was never in the discussion. Yeah,
you get the plaudits here because you did have the balls to go with both Bleed and Fury in the absolutely making it. I didn't. It's not that I didn't think Fury weren't going to make it. Evidently still had them technically second per se, but I just felt like if there was going to be an upset, if there was going to be a team that was going to miss out, it would be Fury. And boy, they proved me wrong. They took down Bleed in the upper bracket final, and it was actually Bleed that almost lost in the LCQ again, that third map. And obviously there was all the controversy around that particular series with Elevate, but there was a point where Elevate were like 3-4 rounds away from actually confirming that last map in that lower bracket final to go to the majors. So I guess I got that wrong in particular, but we both basically anticipated that Bleed and Fury would be the stars of the region again. We both kind of thought Elevate would be up there. They made the lower bracket. Direwolves, probably a little bit disappointing for me. I thought that at no point throughout the season that the Direwolves looked like they had any kind of chance of making the major. They always looked like they were multiple rungs below Bleed and Fury, and where No Cap and Elevate at times kind of showed that they could maybe cause an upset, I didn't get that from Direwolves. So really poor stage from them. And just very quickly to iterate as well, for the absolutely not making, I had technically Hasib last, but I never really actually like ranked that bottom tier list.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
I just threw all of South Asia in there. So we'll move forward off of that one. Which region are we going to next?
We'll do LATAM. I think we'll leave those to the end.
Okay, yeah.
Just because we'll probably talk about it a bit more.
Let me find my LATAM. Where are they?
I'll take it from here. I'll pop up mine. This region, I was completely off the mark, and it looks like you were a bit too. So I had 6K to absolutely make it. I expected them to make it through in the first slot, and then I expected Revan to make a run in the LCQ. Neither of them qualified. It was Alpha and it was the Knights in the end, and we had the pleasure of covering this region a little bit throughout this stage, and honestly, it was pretty crazy. Some interesting storylines, some pretty okay quality siege at times. Revan shitting the bed, that was insane, to some random team from the open qualifier, and just teams dropping the ball left, right, and center.
Yeah, we had a situation where I think we probably mainly just looked at the old results from stage one and went with that, right? So I think that we didn't know the region that well, to be completely blunt.
Of course,
and now we obviously do know the region a little bit more, and you kind of look at these results and you think, you look at our power rankings or predictions and you probably think, yeah, okay, maybe we're a little bit off the board. I think it's very easy to just say, okay, stage one, 6 Karma Revan, we're pretty much head and shoulders above everyone else. So it was easy to just say, okay, well, we're probably expecting them to make it again. I think the biggest thing is we weren't expecting improvement from other teams. Alpha Atheris, massive improvement. We both had them quite low. I had Knights a little bit higher along with Malvinas, and Malvinas obviously didn't quite play to the same level as they did back in stage one. Make them Evolve, we both completely missed that one, right? So they made it all to the end and actually ended up being very close. It was 6-8 in the final map for the Knights. So Make them Evolve were 2 rounds away from actually going to the major, and we had them in the absolutely not making it tier. So credit to them. Yeah, we missed the mark, I think, pretty heavily with LATAM. That's our biggest L.
Yeah. Alpha LATAM.
Alpha LATAM, for sure.
Yeah, but no, awesome region. It'd be interesting to see how it develops going forward. They have such a strange fucking format, though. They have, like, the regular stage with best of 3s. Then there's a pre-LCQ into an LCQ. It's, like, really weird. I don't think it's a particularly bad format, though, to be fair. But, yeah, at the end of the day, the 2 best teams made it through. In this kind of format, it's difficult to fudge a spot. So, yeah, credit to those teams, and we will definitely be reviewing that region closely going into next year.
So I think we've got 2 regions left. We've got MENA and we've got OCE. We'll go to OCE next. So obviously Team Bliss, they have ended up making the major. We had them in the absolutely making it category. It wasn't all that easy though, guys, was it? There was a little bit of troubles along the way. They started off the stage a little bit slow when they were doing their boot camp, lost a couple games, and suddenly it was sort of like, oh, is their spot at the major on the line? They fought back, and in the end, an incredibly dominant game against Rapid Response Regiment, and clean swept them 7-0, or 7-1, sorry, 7-1. So, I mean, really disappointing from Triple R, which I had as the might make the major. I had no one in my probably. I think you went
same
with the same. Obviously, Circular Spheres ended up dropping the ball.
Yep.
Aerial Arise is obviously what they got picked up by. So in the end, we got this one pretty much on the money. If it wasn't going to be Bliss, it was going to be Triple R.
Yeah, that grand final was insane. I mean, we built it up to be this big match, and sometimes they can flounder, and that was one of those examples where Team Bliss were just far too confident, and they showed that they have played in these sorts of moments before, often on the losing end when it came to like relegation matches and stuff, but they showed some really good composure in this game and obviously deserved the spot. There were some very early issues early on in the stage, and, you know, we were a bit concerned, and there was a chance that it could come down to like a weird head-to-head, for instance, at one point, which didn't end up happening, but yeah, unfortunate for Triple R. Circular Spheres, as you mentioned, dropped off. You gave Carlton's Knights 1 spot up. And hey, to be fair, again, they weren't going to contend for the major really at any point, seriously. But they finished fucking 3rd in the league. They don't even play the game. They almost ruined Bliss's stage. So good decision there. That was a good pick.
I'll take that one a little bit. As we move forward to our last region, which is the MENA region. And we felt this was actually going to be about as comfortable as Team Bliss in the Oceania League. And in the end, it didn't end up playing out that way. Falcons do miss out on the major, and it's GK Esports that have taken that top spot. 7-0, clean swept. They basically did a Bliss from back in stage 1. credit to them. I had them in my might make the major. Again, didn't have anyone in the probably category because I felt that confident in Falcons that they would get the job done. Clearly didn't happen. GK was always that team that was sort of next in line. I also had triple in third. So I've got the top three right, but just in the order of GK over Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-point gap in a best of... or in a 7-game stage is quite impressive. So I also had Falcons in that top spot. I did put GK slightly above the rest, but and the rest of the league then trailing. But yeah, didn't seriously expect Falcons to be pushed, never mind overtaken, certainly not by that sort of margin. So I'm intrigued to see what GK can produce for the major. The unfortunate thing will be, though, for MENA is unless GK push hard and get good SI points, we're probably not going to see them at SI. So that's one of the downsides of having alternate teams attending, whereas for Bliss, now they're pretty much almost kind of confirmed for SI, unless an absolute disaster goes against them. So that is one unfortunate thing when you're in a competitive region that has one slot, but such is life.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up all of the regions and how it's played out for stage 2. By and large, I think we've done quite well. LATAM probably being the region that we stumbled the most because pre this stage, we really didn't know that much about LATAM, all things considered. Now we do a little bit more. I think we can feel it's actually one of our more stronger, knowledgeable regions moving forward, going into next year onwards. So I'm pretty content. I think we've done actually pretty well with a lot of our predictions. Clearly, there's been some where there's been an upset here or there, the likes of Falcons missing out and GK taking their spot. Some of the NAL ones, or one NAL team in particular, for me. And other than that, yeah, we did quite well. And obviously you got some like your G2s where we had them absolutely making it, but they had a bit of a stumble and a fall. And yeah, they made it, but they kind of just crossed the finish line just barely. So that pretty much wraps up our particular review for stage 2 in terms of our Atlanta predictions, which very quickly then we can move on to Atlanta itself. While this is not the preview of it, it is a discussion of it somewhat and more surrounding the fact that we will not be attending.
Yeah, we are not invited. We are the only duo alongside Fluke and Hap that are not re-invited from Copenhagen, amongst other talent. So yeah, obviously a little bit disappointing, but I don't think realistically either of us expected it, especially considering the US and visas and, probably the fact that the talent pool for Copenhagen was inflated anyway. So I don't really have too much more to comment. Obviously, disappointment hurts the back pocket as well, obviously, but looking to SI and very much hoping we get that. If we don't get SI, well, then I'll be very, very disappointed, but we taper expectations. We have been here before.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a tricky obstacle to sort of navigate, if you will. It's always, really difficult to get told, oh, you're not working the major, which we got told, being blunt, a couple of weeks ago. So obviously we've known about this for a little bit of time, and that in itself is always something that's actually really appreciated as talent, to be told these things early. Obviously, as the announcement goes out, by that point everyone already knows that needs to be the norm, and it is, thankfully, in Siege. So, and as you said, I think the fact that it's in North America means that you're going to lean more to the North American talent, rightfully so. I think that's the way it should be. I'd be pretty disappointed if we had an Australian major and you didn't have Australian talent. It'd be kind of weird. So I think that also has to be applicable for North America, for obviously EU when there's an EU major. And while it isn't always nice to be told you're not doing the major, it's not something that we were sitting back going thinking, oh, we're like guaranteed to get it. I've been in this business a long time now. I know what it's like to be told you're not getting it or you are getting it. You can't ever fully expect it. We appreciate the support, obviously, when these things go out and there's reveals and there's announcements and people are like, oh, where's X person? Where's Y person? It does feel nice, but also at the same time, don't feel too bad. We're okay. We'll live. We'll be okay. We'll obviously keep fighting and keep pushing for these international opportunities. It's what we strive for. It's what we, obviously aim to try and be at all of these majors and all of these SIs. But realistically, you're never going to get all of them. And that's just the way it is. There might be a select few that do, and maybe rightfully so. But we're not in that sort of category, and we understand that. We're okay with that. And we'll just sort of aim for 6 Invitational, which would be honestly bloody amazing, because I think for us especially, while we have technically done a 6 Invitational 2021 remote, everyone who was doing Siege at the time, except for probably Rob, was able to do that event. Poor Rob.
Yeah.
Manic to the major, maybe Manic to SI. That would be the dream. But yeah, obviously, actually attending an SI would be that next step for us. And I think once you do a major, then SI is next. Once you've done SI, you've kind of at least ticked off a lot of the checklist.
Yeah, I mean, we were the only pairing, I think, for the last two SIs, the only Tier 1 pairing that weren't invited. So hopefully that trend will change. I think we proved ourselves at Copenhagen that we can do a good job, and the feedback was, relatively positive, and the things that weren't, we worked on. So yeah, I think we're in good stead. Like I said, if we don't get it, it's going to be disappointing, and it's going to be a fucking long break, but more time for content, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we get to attend more events, because we'd love to transition this content to on-site and get talent and players in. That'd be great. But it's just about riding the waves. That's what esports is. We're going to have highs, we're going to have lows, and it's just about making the most of that. Unfortunate, obviously, that we're pretty much Siege exclusive, and there's not much else going on in Australian esports at the moment. So you don't get that work. It does hurt quite a lot. And we'll probably have to, seriously look at other avenues over the break and whatever. You've got the missus to pay your bills. I don't have many bills, but I also don't have a missus to pay my way. So, but we'll work it out. Such is life.
Yeah, the big thing is like kind of what you just said there as well. Like, and what I envision is what I would love to do is when we get to go to these kind of events now, actually bring the content to NSI, to a major, and be able to incorporate the Siege show and have it maybe be, as I said, opened up a little bit more, where you can get certain talent on or certain players on. And also it means that we can kind of like bring this show globally. We can probably have a bit more time to film, because truthfully, when you're at these events, there is actually a little bit of time. Like you're kind of in your hotel room for a lot of it. And while we'll, you go and visit these places and you go and explore, it's not that difficult to just say, okay, we'll bring a mic each or something and get it set up on the laptop. It won't be as nice as our.
It probably won't be the same production quality.
It won't be the same production quality, but the content will be there. And we'll have a lot more of it, and we can actually get and interact with people, and also film quite a bit more. So the backlog, the catalog in terms of content would be absolutely through the roof. And so therefore that means we can also bring our viewers along for the journey, especially the Patreon. We could probably even do more.
Do like daily updates and shit. We get players in, have drinks. I mean,
so that'd be awesome.
It's pretty limitless what the options kind of are, but we need to get to the event first. So yeah, look, I think we have learned over the years to taper expectations. We're not expecting to get, probably not even SI to be realistic, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I know probably there's people out there that'd be like, wait, you're not expecting to get SI? But like, no, I think we're probably just sort of in that hopeful camp. It'd be like, okay, this would be obviously something we would love to do. That's basically next on the goal, because before Copenhagen, the goal was to do a major, right? Like that was really where we were aiming for, and said, okay, can we get to that point where we get invited to do a major? We got that. Circumstances aside, even if pretty much everyone gets to do it, as long as we get to do it, that's the big one. So 6 Invitationals next on that list. Again, if everyone gets to do SI, then everyone gets to do it. We're included in that, then that's fucking awesome. If not, then if it becomes that sort of select few, if there's only a certain amount that get to do it, then whether we get it or not is going to be quite tricky. So that's why it's very difficult to expect it. You can never expect something like this, whether it's a major or whether it's an SI. You just gotta hope. It's gotta hope for the best. Keep putting in the work. Obviously, I felt like our stage 2 was pretty good, especially when you take into account we were very fortunate to be able to do a lot of those studio broadcasts for Oceania League. We were able to cover a lot of different regions, so again, our knowledge base increases based off of that. And the one thing that kind of sucks is going into the major, I think we would have been best prepared off of the stage in terms of the workload we just had. Versus now, okay, no major, but then if you get the call up for SI, you wouldn't have actually done any work for a couple of months.
Yeah.
It'd be quite a big break. So that's something to take into account, maybe to kind of keep grinding throughout the off season. Obviously, doing content such as this will certainly help. And I think we'll probably leave that there. We're getting close to the 30-minute mark, and I do want this to be, again, on the shorter side, mainly because we've got a pretty big, probably couple of episodes coming up really after this one, when you take into account the content we'll have from the major in and around all of that. So I imagine those episodes will kind of have a little bit more of a filled out nature to them, and we'll get back to our usual general hot topic takes and debates and things like that, which I absolutely love. I'm shattered that I didn't get to do it for this episode.
Well, you could have thought of, you could have thought of something.
I tried to sneak it in, and you said no. I'm not sure if we're gonna have the time for it. And
I mean, we did finish like kind of right on the 30-minute mark, so I think we've done a pretty good job. But yeah, I mean, the expectation is we'll do like probably quite a lengthy Atlanta preview, and then we'll have weekly episodes as that progresses and stuff. And who knows what we'll do in the off season. But we'll think of stuff.
Yeah, the call to sort of arms here as well for those that are watching, for those that have sort of made it this far, especially, what would you guys like to see? Because obviously, when Siege goes into its little off-season break, after the major to SI, then after SI to stage 1, those kind of breaks, it's difficult to probably continue to do the Siege show at its full extent throughout those kind of dry periods. Are you guys interested in us just scraping whatever we can? Do you mind if there's a hiatus? Do you want to see a variety show where it's a little bit more about me and Guzz or other games? Let us know, please, whether it's in the Discord if you're a Patreon, whether it's in the comments, whether it's on Twitter, wherever. Let us know. What do you guys want to see moving forward when we do get these breaks? The goal will always be, when there's Siege, this show will exist and we'll cover Siege. When there's not Siege, we got to figure out, what do you guys want to watch? What do you guys want to see? Whether it's other game titles, whether it's obviously just more variety. Do you want interviews? Do you want us to try and bring other people in onto the broadcast? All of these things. So make sure you let us know. And that is the end of episode 11, our stage 2 review and our predictions and how they went. Let us know how you guys went with your own predictions, and let us know your thoughts as well on our own predictions and how we went. We did pretty well. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Again, Patreon exclusive content. What are we talking about this week?
We've got ourselves some drama surrounding some organizations. M&M to be exact. So we'll be touching on M&M payment drama and sort of what players and teams can do to protect themselves. That will be our exclusive content, which will be starting very, very shortly. For those that are subscribed, of course, to the Patreon, they will get access to that. For those that aren't, this is where we say goodbye. This is where we say farewell. Much love. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave a comment. Let us know how you thought of the episode. That's episode 11 in the books. For Jake and Guzz, for the Siege Show. Bye-bye.
Bye.